Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the English Globe. We are very happy to have you here with us today. This podcast is a place where we explore important world topics in clear and simple English so that learners from every background can understand and enjoy. Today's discussion is a very big one because it is about Pakistan, a country that finds itself in the middle of two global powers, China and the United States.
Yes, Adam. And this is not only a political question, but also a global issue that affects trade, security, and the lives of millions of people. Pakistan is an important country in South Asia, with more than 240 million people. It has nuclear power, a strong military, and a very strategic location. This means that decisions Pakistan makes about its foreign relations can influence not only its own future, but also the balance of power between the East and the West.
Before we go deeper, dear listeners, we kindly ask you to support our work. If you find this podcast helpful, please click the like button on this video. It really helps more people to discover the English Globe. And if you want to keep learning English with us while exploring international politics, then please subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you make sure that you will not miss any of our future episodes on global issues and English learning.
That's right, Adam. And we would love to hear from you, our audience. Please tell us in the comments where you are listening from. Are you joining us from Pakistan, from another part of Asia, from Europe, Africa, or the Americas? Your comments help us understand our global community of learners. Also, we would like to know your opinion about today's topic. Should Pakistan lean more towards China, towards the United States, or try to balance both sides?
Now let us turn back to why this topic matters so much. Pakistan is often described as being at a crossroads. This means it stands between different possible paths, and the decision it makes can shape the future of the country. On one side, there is China, a close neighbor and longtime friend, offering investment, infrastructure, and partnership. On the other side, there is the United States, a global superpower with influence in trade, security, and international diplomacy.
For English learners, this topic is very useful because it introduces many important words and ideas from international relations. You will hear terms like strategic alliance, economic partnership, foreign policy, and global power rivalry. Learning these words in the context of a real-world situation makes them easier to remember. So, while we are exploring politics, we are also learning language together. This way, the podcast helps you grow in both knowledge and English skills.
Another reason why this topic is important is that it reflects the bigger picture of our world today. We live in a time when the United States and China are competing for influence across many regions. From trade wars to technology to security issues, this rivalry touches almost every country. Pakistan is not the only nation caught in the middle, but because of its geography and history, its choices carry special weight. That makes this question relevant, not just for South Asia, but for the entire globe.
Exactly, Adam. To understand this situation, we also need to look at history. Pakistan has had a long relationship with the United States, going back to the Cold War. It has also built what is often called an all-weather friendship with China. These relationships shape its present choices. In this podcast, we will walk through each of these aspects carefully. We will explain how history, economics, security, and public opinion all play a role in Pakistan's position between the two giants.
And for those who are practicing their English listening, remember to stay patient. We are speaking slowly and clearly to help you understand. Try to focus on the main ideas, and do not worry if you do not understand every single word. With practice, your listening skills will improve. You can also pause, take notes, and repeat parts of the podcast if you need. Our goal is to make learning enjoyable while giving you insights into important world issues.
So, dear listeners, welcome once again to the English Globe. Today we begin a journey into understanding how Pakistan is balancing its ties between China and the United States. We hope you stay with us through all the sections of this podcast, because each part will give you a deeper view of history, politics, and the possible future. At the same time, you will be learning English step by step. Together, we will build both knowledge and language.
When we talk about Pakistan and the United States, we need to start with history. The relationship between these two countries began shortly after Pakistan became independent in 1947. At that time, the world was entering the Cold War period. The United States and the Soviet Union were the two main rivals, and many countries were forced to choose sides. Pakistan decided to align more closely with the United States because it needed economic and military support for its young nation.
Yes, Adam. And during the 1950s and 1960s, Pakistan and the United States worked together as allies in security organizations. Pakistan joined groups like SEATO and CENTO, which were part of the US strategy to contain Soviet influence. In return, Pakistan received American aid, weapons, and training. This partnership gave Pakistan access to technology and financial support that helped its development. At the same time, it placed Pakistan in a global network of alliances led by the United States.
However, this relationship was not always smooth. One of the early challenges came during the 1965 war between Pakistan and India. The United States, which had supplied weapons to Pakistan, decided to cut military aid because it did not want to get involved in a regional war. This decision disappointed Pakistan and made it question whether America could be fully trusted as a long-term ally. From that moment, Pakistan realized that U.S. support could sometimes be conditional and not always guaranteed.
A very important moment in US-Pakistan history came in the 1970s. During this time, Pakistan played a secret but key role in helping the United States and China open diplomatic relations. It was Pakistan's leader, General Yahya Khan, who helped arrange the secret visit of US Secretary of State Henry Kissinger to China. That trip later led to President Richard Nixon's historic visit to Beijing. So even in the Cold War, Pakistan was playing a bridge role between major powers.
Then, in the 1980s, Pakistan became a frontline state for the United States during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. The U.S. and Pakistan worked closely together to support Afghan fighters who were resisting Soviet forces. During this period, Pakistan received billions of dollars in aid, military assistance, and economic support. The partnership was very strong because the U.S. needed Pakistan's cooperation to fight the Soviets. For many years, this period is remembered as the peak of their close cooperation.
But once again, the relationship shifted after the Soviet Union left Afghanistan in 1989. The United States no longer needed Pakistan as urgently, and soon, tensions rose again. In the 1990s, the US placed sanctions on Pakistan because of its nuclear weapons program. These sanctions cut off military aid and reduced economic cooperation. Many in Pakistan felt abandoned because the country had supported US goals in Afghanistan, but was then punished when American priorities changed.
This on-and-off pattern became a defining feature of U.S.-Pakistan ties. They were close partners when interests matched, but distant when goals were different. After the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, the U.S. once again turned to Pakistan. At that time, Pakistan's leader, General Pervez Musharraf, agreed to support the U.S. in its war on terror, especially in Afghanistan. Pakistan allowed American forces to use its territory for operations and received large amounts of aid in return.
Yes, and during the 2000s, the US provided Pakistan with billions of dollars in economic and military assistance. The partnership was important for global security, but it also created new tensions. Some people in Pakistan felt that the country was being pressured too much by America, while others believed that cooperation with the US was necessary for stability. This mix of dependence and mistrust made the relationship complicated.
In the past decade, the ties have become even more uncertain. While the U.S. has remained one of Pakistan's largest export markets, political trust has declined. American leaders have sometimes accused Pakistan of not doing enough to fight terrorism, while Pakistani leaders have complained that the U.S. does not respect their sacrifices. At the same time, U.S. relations with India have grown stronger, making Pakistan feel less central to Washington's strategy.
This history shows us something important, dear listeners. Pakistan and the United States have shared many years of cooperation, but the relationship has always been conditional. It has depended on shared interests at specific moments in history, such as during the Cold War, the Afghan War, or the War on Terror. When those interests changed, the friendship became weaker. This is why Pakistan has always looked for other partners as well, such as China, to balance its foreign policy.
For English learners, let's pause and notice some useful phrases here. We said frontline state, which means a country that plays a direct role in a conflict or struggle. We also used the word sanctions, which are punishments given by one country to another, often by limiting trade or aid. These terms help us understand how international relations work, and by hearing them in this story, you can remember them more clearly.
So, when we ask today whether Pakistan will lean more towards China or the United States, we need to remember this history. The US has been a partner for decades, but the relationship has gone through many ups and downs. Sometimes Pakistan has received strong support, but at other times it has faced restrictions and disappointments. This history explains why Pakistan is cautious and why it often seeks balance instead of relying only on one country.
As we continue in the next section, we will look at Pakistan's partnership with China. Unlike its shifting ties with the U.S., Pakistan and China describe their friendship as all-weather, meaning it stays strong no matter what. Understanding both sides of this story will help us see why Pakistan is in such a difficult but interesting position today.
Now that we have explored Pakistan's long and sometimes complicated relationship with the United States, it is time to look at another side of the story: Pakistan's close friendship with China. This relationship is often called an all-weather friendship, meaning it stays strong in every season, through good times and bad. Unlike the ups and downs of ties with the US, Pakistan and China have built a partnership that both governments describe as stable, trustworthy, and long-lasting.
The roots of this friendship go back to the 1950s, when both Pakistan and China were still finding their place in the world. Pakistan was one of the first countries to recognize the People's Republic of China diplomatically. At a time when many Western nations did not accept the new Chinese government, Pakistan reached out and built ties. This early act of trust laid the foundation for decades of cooperation, and it showed China that Pakistan was willing to be a true partner.
One of the most symbolic moments in their relationship came during the 1965 war between India and Pakistan. At that time, China gave strong diplomatic support to Pakistan. This created a sense of solidarity because Pakistan felt that China stood with it during a difficult period. In the following years, their military and political cooperation grew stronger, and both sides started to see each other as reliable allies in a region where trust was often hard to find.
As the years passed, the partnership moved beyond politics into trade, defense, and infrastructure. China became a steady supplier of military equipment to Pakistan, including aircraft, naval ships, and advanced technology. Joint projects such as the JF-17 fighter jet showed how deep their cooperation had become. For Pakistan, this support was especially important because it provided an alternative to Western military suppliers, which sometimes placed restrictions on sales.
Another important area is economic cooperation. For decades, Pakistan has looked to China as a partner in development. But the relationship reached a new level in 2015, when the two countries launched the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, also known as CPEACE. This is a massive infrastructure program that includes highways, railways, energy plants, and the development of the Gwadar port. For Pakistan, CPEC is seen as a game changer that could transform its economy and connect it more closely to global trade routes.
CPEC is part of China's larger Belt and Road Initiative, which aims to link Asia, Africa, and Europe through trade and investment. For China, Pakistan is a key partner because of its location. The Gwadar port, in particular, gives China access to the Arabian Sea and the Middle East, reducing its dependence on long sea routes through East Asia. This makes Pakistan valuable for China's strategic and economic goals. So, the partnership benefits both sides in different but complementary ways.
Beyond trade and defense, there is also a cultural and educational side to this relationship. Every year, thousands of Pakistani students travel to China for higher education, supported by scholarships and exchange programs. At the same time, Chinese language learning centers have opened in Pakistan, and more people are learning Mandarin. These exchanges create personal connections between the two societies, making the friendship more than just a government agreement. It becomes a link between ordinary people.
For Pakistan, the friendship with China has another special value. It is seen as consistent. While ties with the U.S. have sometimes been unpredictable, China has been viewed as a steady partner that does not place heavy political conditions on its aid and investment. This gives Pakistan a sense of security. Leaders in Islamabad often describe China as a friend that stands by Pakistan in difficult times, whether during wars, economic crises, or international pressure.
But of course, even strong friendships can face challenges. Some critics in Pakistan worry that relying too heavily on Chinese loans and projects might create debt problems. Others argue that local industries and workers do not always benefit as much as expected from Chinese investment. Still, for many leaders and citizens, the benefits of the partnership, such as improved roads, energy supply, and technology transfer, outweigh the risks. That is why the phrase all-weather continues to be used so often.
Dear listeners, let's pause again for some useful vocabulary. When we say strategic partner, we mean a country that works closely with another for long-term goals in security, trade, or politics. Infrastructure refers to basic systems like roads, bridges, and power plants that support an economy. And corridor in this context means a network of routes that connect places. These words are important when talking about global projects like CPEC, and learning them helps you understand the language of international development.
So, when we look at the bigger picture, we see that Pakistan's ties with China are very different from its ties with the United States. With China, the relationship is built on trust, consistency, and long-term projects like CPEC. With the US, the ties have been powerful but sometimes unstable. This difference explains why many in Pakistan describe China as their closest and most reliable friend in international affairs.
Understanding this all-weather friendship helps us see why Pakistan is in such a complex position today. It has one partner that provides stability and infrastructure, and another partner that offers global influence and markets. In the next section, we will focus more on the economic side of this story. We will ask, how important are China and the US for Pakistan's economy, and why is it so difficult for Pakistan to choose between them? When we think about Pakistan's position between China and the United States, one of the most important factors is economics. Every country's foreign policy is shaped not only by politics or security, but also by trade, markets, and investment. For Pakistan, both China and the US are crucial economic partners, but in very different ways. The US has long been one of Pakistan's biggest export markets, while China has become Pakistan's largest investor in infrastructure and development projects.
Let us begin with the United States. For many years, the US has been one of the top destinations for Pakistani exports. Items such as textiles, clothing, sports goods, and agricultural products are sold in American markets. This is very important because these exports create jobs inside Pakistan and bring in much-needed foreign currency. For example, when factories in cities like Faisalabad or Sialkot produce textiles or footballs that are sold in the US, workers in Pakistan directly benefit from that trade.
This export link means that the United States plays a steady role in supporting Pakistan's economy. Even when political relations become tense, trade often continues. For Pakistan, losing access to the U.S. market would be very costly. The demand in America is huge, and Pakistani products have built a reputation there over many decades. This makes the U.S. not just an important partner, but a difficult one to replace, because very few other markets can absorb so many of Pakistan's goods.
Now let's turn to China. Instead of being a major buyer of Pakistan's exports, China plays a different role. It is the largest source of investment and infrastructure development. Through projects like the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, China has financed and built highways, railways, power plants, and ports. These projects are essential for Pakistan's long-term growth because they improve transportation, reduce energy shortages, and open new trade routes. In other words, China provides the tools that Pakistan needs for future economic success.
The scale of Chinese investment is very large. Billions of dollars have flowed into Pakistan in the form of loans, construction contracts, and development funds. Chinese companies have built energy projects that help keep Pakistan's lights on and factories running. The Gwadar port, for example, is seen as a key hub for future trade, and it would not have been possible without Chinese funding and expertise. So, while the U.S. supports Pakistan through buying its goods, China supports Pakistan by building its infrastructure.
This difference creates an interesting balance. On one side, Pakistan relies on the US to keep its exports flowing and its foreign currency reserves healthy. On the other side, it relies on China to modernize its infrastructure and attract investment for the future. Both roles are important, but they are not the same. This means that Pakistan cannot easily choose one partner over the other without losing something very valuable. Balancing the two is a constant challenge for policymakers in Islamabad.
Another factor is debt. Some analysts argue that Pakistan's growing dependence on Chinese loans could create financial risks in the future. If Pakistan is unable to repay these loans, it could face pressure or lose some control over projects. On the other hand, American markets provide income rather than debt. The money earned from exports is Pakistan's own, and it strengthens the economy without creating long-term financial obligations. This makes the U.S. role different, but equally significant.
We should also remember that both China and the United States bring not only money, but also influence. Economic ties often shape political decisions. For example, if Pakistan depends too much on Chinese loans, it may feel pressure to support China in international forums. If it depends too heavily on US markets, it may face pressure to follow Washington's political preferences. In this way, economics and politics are deeply connected, and Pakistan must carefully manage both sides.
For English learners, let's highlight some useful terms here. Exports are goods and services sold to other countries. Infrastructure means the basic systems that allow an economy to function, such as roads, ports, and power supply. Investment is money put into projects with the hope of future benefits. Debt refers to borrowed money that must be repaid, often with interest. These words are key to understanding how countries build and manage their economies, especially when dealing with powerful partners.
So, why is balancing both China and the US so difficult? The answer is that Pakistan needs both, but in different ways. It cannot give up US markets without harming its exports, and it cannot give up Chinese investment without slowing down its development. Choosing one side too strongly could mean losing the other, and that would create serious problems for Pakistan's economy. This is why leaders often speak about maintaining balance rather than choosing only one friend.
The challenge becomes even more complex when we think about the global rivalry between China and the United States. As these two powers compete for influence around the world, they sometimes expect their partners to take sides. For Pakistan, this is a very sensitive situation. If it leans too much towards China, it risks losing U.S. markets. If it leans too much towards the U.S., it risks losing Chinese investment. Walking this tightrope is one of the hardest tasks for Pakistan's leaders today.
Dear listeners, this section shows us that economics is not just about numbers or trade deals. It is about survival, growth, and influence. For Pakistan, the US and China are not just partners. They are lifelines that keep the economy moving and provide hope for the future. Understanding these economic links helps us see why the question, which side will Pakistan choose, is not an easy one. It is not just politics. It is also about the very foundation of Pakistan's development.
In the next section, we will look more closely at the role of security and strategy. Beyond money and trade, Pakistan's choices are also shaped by military needs, regional conflicts, and the search for stability. Just like economics, security plays a central role in deciding how Pakistan manages its relationships with both China and the United States. When we think about Pakistan's position between China and the United States, economics is just one part of the story. Security and defense play an equally important role. For decades, Pakistan has relied on foreign partners for military support, training, and intelligence. The United States, in particular, has been a key provider of security assistance, especially during times when Pakistan faced threats from terrorism or regional conflicts. Understanding this helps explain why Pakistan's foreign policy is so careful and measured.
Yes, Adam. The US has supported Pakistan's security in several ways over the years. One of the most significant periods was after the September 11th attacks in 2001. Pakistan became a frontline ally in the US-led war on terror in Afghanistan. American forces depended on Pakistan for logistics, intelligence, and access to bases. In return, Pakistan received billions of dollars in military aid, equipment, and training. This partnership strengthened Pakistan's counter-terrorism capabilities and helped modernize its military forces.
However, as we mentioned earlier, this relationship has not always been smooth. While the U.S. provides advanced weapons technology and training, it also expects Pakistan to follow certain rules and take specific actions. At times, this has led to disagreements and tension. Some in Pakistan believe that the U.S. pressures the country too much, especially when it comes to controlling militant groups. These differences show that security cooperation with the United States comes with conditions and political expectations.
On the other hand, China offers a very different kind of security partnership. Unlike the US, Chinese military support is generally unconditional and long-term. China has provided Pakistan with advanced weapons, such as fighter jets, naval ships, and missile systems. There are also joint defense projects, like the development of the JF-17 Thunder fighter jet. This collaboration allows Pakistan to strengthen its military capabilities without facing the same kind of political pressure that sometimes comes with US support.
China also plays a strategic role in regional security. Its support helps Pakistan maintain a balance of power with neighboring India. For decades, Pakistan has viewed India as a major security concern, and Chinese defense cooperation provides a way to counterbalance India's military strength. This partnership also gives Pakistan confidence in facing external threats, because China has publicly expressed political and military support in times of regional tension.
But security is not only about weapons or alliances. It is also about strategy. Pakistan must carefully manage its relationships with both superpowers. It cannot rely entirely on the US, because American support has historically been conditional and sometimes unpredictable. At the same time, it cannot rely only on China, because doing so may create political and economic friction with the United States. This need to balance security relationships adds a layer of complexity to Pakistan's foreign policy.
For example, Pakistan participates in joint military exercises with China to strengthen cooperation and improve readiness. At the same time, it sometimes receives U.S. military aid or engages in counterterrorism operations coordinated with Washington. Each side offers unique benefits. The U.S. provides access to advanced technology and intelligence networks, while China offers political trust, consistency, and regional balance. Pakistan's leaders must find ways to work with both without offending either.
Another challenge comes from regional instability. Pakistan shares borders with Afghanistan, Iran, and India, which are all areas of geopolitical concern. Terrorism, border disputes, and political unrest mean that Pakistan must have strong security measures in place. Cooperation with both China and the US helps Pakistan navigate these challenges, but it also requires careful diplomacy. Any misstep could create tension with either partner or destabilize the region further.
This balancing act is often described as a tightrope walk. Pakistan's leaders need to maintain close security ties with China to ensure regional stability and defense capabilities, while also keeping good relations with the U.S. to access technology intelligence and international support. Choosing one side too strongly could risk economic or political repercussions. It is a delicate situation that requires skillful management, constant communication, and strategic foresight.
For English learners, let us highlight some important terms here. Counterterrorism refers to actions taken to prevent or fight terrorism. Strategic partner is a country that cooperates with another for long-term security and political goals. Regional balance means maintaining equal strength between neighboring countries to avoid conflicts. Understanding these words helps us see how security relationships affect foreign policy and international stability.
Moreover, Pakistan's position is further complicated by global developments. As U.S.-China competition grows, each superpower increasingly expects allies to show loyalty. This puts pressure on Pakistan to make choices that could affect both security and international reputation. By maintaining strong, careful relationships with both China and the U.S., Pakistan seeks to protect its national interests, uphold regional stability, and avoid becoming overly dependent on a single power.
In conclusion, security and strategic concerns are central to Pakistan's foreign policy. U.S. support has provided technology, training, and counter-terrorism cooperation, while China offers consistent defense assistance and strategic reassurance. Balancing these relationships is complex because Pakistan must maintain trust, protect sovereignty, and navigate regional tensions. This delicate balancing act is one of the reasons Pakistan's foreign policy is closely watched around the world.
In the next section, we will explore the role of regional politics. How do India, Afghanistan, and neighboring countries influence Pakistan's choices? And how do these regional dynamics interact with the security and economic factors we have already discussed? Understanding these connections will give us a complete picture of why Pakistan's position is both challenging and important.
When we discuss Pakistan's position between China and the United States, it is essential to understand the role of regional politics. Pakistan is located in South Asia, a region with complex relationships, historical rivalries, and ongoing conflicts. One of the most important regional dynamics involves India and China. The rivalry between these two countries has a significant impact on Pakistan's foreign policy, and it often influences the decisions Pakistan makes about alliances, security, and economic partnerships.
Yes, Julia. India and China have long competed for influence in Asia. They share borders that have occasionally led to disputes and even military clashes. China sees India as a strategic competitor, while India is cautious of China's growing influence in the region. Pakistan, sharing a long and sometimes tense border with India, finds itself directly affected by this rivalry. Its historical conflicts with India, including wars and territorial disputes, make the relationship between China and India especially relevant for Pakistan.
For Pakistan, China's rivalry with India provides a kind of strategic support. By maintaining close ties with China, Pakistan gains confidence that it has a strong ally in the region. China can offer political backing, military cooperation, and economic assistance that help Pakistan counterbalance India's influence. This connection is particularly important in areas such as Kashmir, where India and Pakistan have had long-standing disagreements. Strategic partnerships in such cases are not just about friendship, but about regional balance and security.
Another critical factor in regional politics is Afghanistan. Pakistan shares a long border with Afghanistan and has played a central role in its political developments. For the United States, Pakistan is a key partner in maintaining stability in Afghanistan. During the U.S.-led war in Afghanistan, Pakistan provided logistical support, intelligence, and access to critical routes. This made Pakistan essential to U.S. strategy because it allowed American forces to operate effectively and maintain influence in the region.
Afghanistan also affects Pakistan internally. The conflict across the border has led to security challenges, refugee movements, and political pressures. Pakistan must carefully manage its involvement in Afghanistan to avoid destabilizing itself while maintaining strong ties with both China and the United States. Its role is often seen as a balancing act, where decisions are made not only for national interest, but also for the wider stability of South Asia.
Regional stability is another major factor. Pakistan is surrounded by countries that have overlapping interests and potential conflicts. For example, Iran to the west, India to the east, Afghanistan to the northwest, and the Arabian Sea to the south. Any instability in these areas can affect Pakistan's economy, security, and strategic planning. This is why Pakistan's choices cannot be made in isolation. They are always influenced by the broader regional environment.
One challenge for Pakistan is that regional politics often intersect with global rivalries. For instance, as US and China compete for influence worldwide, regional dynamics in South Asia become part of the larger picture. Pakistan's leaders must consider how every action might be interpreted by China, the United States, India, and other neighboring countries. This means that even small decisions about trade, military exercises, or diplomatic visits can carry significant regional and international implications.
Another example of regional complexity is the India-Pakistan relationship. Historical conflicts over borders, water resources, and security have made the two countries cautious and often adversarial. China's strategic partnership with Pakistan can be seen as a counterbalance to India's growing influence. At the same time, Pakistan must ensure that it does not upset the United States, which maintains friendly relations with India. This is a delicate balancing act, and regional politics make it even more challenging.
Regional politics also influence economic and security decisions. For example, Chinese infrastructure projects, like the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, are not only economic investments, but also strategic assets. They provide Pakistan with better connectivity, trade routes, and a way to maintain influence in the region. Meanwhile, the US supports Pakistan's counter-terrorism efforts, which helps maintain stability along the Afghan border. These overlapping interests show how regional politics and foreign partnerships are deeply connected.
For English learners, let's highlight some key terms. Regional stability means keeping peace and order in neighboring countries. Strategic support refers to assistance that strengthens a country's position against rivals. Logistics involves moving people, goods, and information efficiently. Understanding these terms helps learners follow discussions about international relations as they appear frequently in news, podcasts, and educational materials.
In summary, regional politics play a central role in shaping Pakistan's choices between China and the US. The India-China rivalry, the situation in Afghanistan, and regional stability all influence Pakistan's economic, security, and political decisions. Leaders must navigate these complex dynamics carefully to maintain balance, protect national interests, and avoid conflict. Understanding this context is essential for anyone who wants to grasp why Pakistan's foreign policy is so nuanced and delicate.
In the next section, we will explore public opinion and domestic politics. How do ordinary people and political leaders in Pakistan view China and the U.S.? How does public sentiment influence policy decisions? This perspective helps us understand not only global strategy, but also the social and political realities inside Pakistan itself.
When we think about Pakistan's relationship with China and the United States, it is not only about economics, security, or regional politics. Public opinion and domestic politics play an important role. Ordinary Pakistanis have their own views on these two superpowers. Some people see the United States as a source of economic opportunity and global influence. They value the trade, education, and technological support that comes from Washington. At the same time, opinions about the US can be mixed, especially when American policies or military actions affect Pakistan directly.
Exactly, Julia. On the other side, China is often seen very positively by the Pakistani public. Chinese investments in infrastructure, energy, and development projects are widely appreciated. Many citizens view China as a reliable and long-term friend that provides support without asking for major political concessions. This perception is reinforced by media coverage, government statements, and visible projects like the Gwadar port, highways, and power plants. Public approval strengthens the government's confidence in deepening ties with China.
However, public opinion is not uniform. In Pakistan, different social, ethnic, and political groups may have different perspectives. Some people worry about becoming too dependent on China, especially regarding debt or employment opportunities. Others question the US, pointing out historical moments when American policies seemed inconsistent or unfair. Leaders must carefully consider these views because public sentiment can influence elections, policy decisions, and long-term strategies.
Speaking of leaders, domestic politics plays a critical role in shaping foreign policy. Pakistan has a parliamentary system where elected governments, military leaders, and bureaucrats all influence decision-making. During elections, politicians often highlight foreign relations as part of their campaigns. They may emphasize closer ties with China for development and stability, or with the United States for trade and international recognition. The choices of leaders often reflect both strategic interests and public expectations.
Political changes can create shifts in foreign policy. For example, when a new government comes into power, it may review agreements, investments, or military cooperation. Some leaders prioritize China for its long-term projects, while others may try to strengthen US relations for immediate economic benefits. This dynamic nature of politics shows that Pakistan's foreign policy is influenced not only by external factors, but also by internal debates, political competition, and domestic priorities.
Beyond politics, cultural, social, and educational ties also shape perceptions. Thousands of Pakistani students study in the United States each year, earning degrees in science, engineering, business, and humanities. This educational exchange fosters personal connections, cultural understanding, and future professional networks. Similarly, Pakistanis increasingly study Mandarin, attend Chinese cultural programs, and work on joint projects. These social and educational exchanges strengthen trust, familiarity, and positive attitudes toward both countries.
Media also plays a role in shaping public opinion. News coverage, social media discussions, and government announcements highlight China and the United States in different ways. Positive coverage of Chinese projects or US economic programs can influence how citizens perceive these countries. Similarly, negative reports or controversies can lead to skepticism or criticism. This interplay between media, politics, and public sentiment is an important factor in understanding Pakistan's foreign policy decisions.
Public opinion can also influence security decisions. If citizens strongly support closer ties with China, for example, leaders may feel more comfortable deepening military cooperation with Beijing. Conversely, if there is pressure to maintain U.S. relations for economic reasons, policymakers may carefully coordinate with Washington to ensure public approval. In this way, ordinary people, elections, and political leaders all contribute to shaping the direction of Pakistan's foreign policy.
For English learners, let's highlight a few key terms. Public opinion refers to what ordinary people think or feel about a topic. Domestic politics is the political situation within a country. Cultural ties mean shared traditions, language, or educational exchanges. Bureaucrats are government officials who help run the country. Understanding these words helps learners follow discussions about international relations and see how internal factors influence foreign policy.
In conclusion, public opinion and domestic politics are essential parts of Pakistan's relationship with China and the United States. Leaders must consider what ordinary citizens think, how political parties compete, and how cultural and educational ties influence perception. Balancing domestic expectations with strategic, economic, and security considerations is a constant challenge. Understanding this internal dimension helps us see the full picture of Pakistan's foreign policy.
In the next section, we will explore the influence of global powers and alliances. How do international organizations, treaties, and superpower strategies affect Pakistan's choices? By examining the global context, we can better understand why Pakistan's position between China and the United States is so complex and why its decisions are closely watched worldwide.
When we examine Pakistan's position between China and the United States, it is essential to understand the global power game. The rivalry between the U.S. and China is one of the most significant international dynamics today. Both countries are competing not only economically, but also politically, technologically, and militarily. Their influence extends across Asia and the world. For Pakistan, being in the middle of this rivalry means that every decision it makes can have implications far beyond its borders.
Exactly, Adam. The US-China rivalry affects trade, investment, technology transfer, and military alliances. The United States wants to maintain its influence in South Asia and the Indian Ocean, while China seeks to expand its Belt and Road Initiative and increase its presence across Asia. Pakistan is geographically and strategically positioned at the crossroads of these ambitions. Its location, ports, infrastructure, and military capabilities make it a key country in the larger global competition between the two superpowers.
For example, China's investment in the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is not only an economic project. It also enhances China's access to the Arabian Sea and strengthens its trade routes to the Middle East and Africa. From a global perspective, this corridor is a strategic asset for China. At the same time, the U.S. observes this development carefully, as it shifts regional influence and could affect American interests in Asia and beyond. Pakistan's role in enabling or supporting these projects is therefore closely monitored.
Similarly, U.S. trade relations with Pakistan are more than simple exports and imports. They are part of a broader strategy to maintain influence in South Asia. The United States supports Pakistan in ways that also align with its global objectives, such as ensuring stability along the Afghan border or countering terrorism networks. Pakistan's cooperation helps Washington achieve its regional and global goals. This makes Pakistan a partner whose decisions matter far beyond its domestic context.
Another aspect is military and technological influence. Both the United States and China provide Pakistan with military support, but each offers different advantages. American aid comes with advanced technology and intelligence sharing opportunities, while Chinese assistance offers consistency, regional backing, and long-term strategic trust. Pakistan's military decisions, therefore, are observed internationally because they can shift the regional balance and signal alignment toward one superpower over the other.
Pakistan's choices also affect global trade. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor connects China to international markets through Pakistani ports, which could reshape regional commerce. At the same time, the United States is a major consumer of Pakistani goods, and any shift in relations can influence global supply chains for textiles, agriculture, and other industries. Pakistan's economic alignment, therefore, is closely watched by international businesses, investors, and policymakers around the world.
Moreover, Pakistan's position has implications for regional and global security. A stable Pakistan contributes to peace in South Asia, while instability could have ripple effects across neighboring countries, including India, Afghanistan, Iran, and even the Middle East. Superpowers consider Pakistan's internal stability when making decisions about military deployments, alliances, or trade investments. In this sense, Pakistan is not only a regional actor, but also a strategic player in the global power game.
Global geopolitics also emphasizes the importance of perception. How the US or China perceives Pakistan's alignment can influence international treaties, negotiations, and military strategies. For instance, stronger ties with China could affect how other countries in the region interact with Pakistan, while closer US cooperation could invite scrutiny from China and its allies. These perceptions create a complex web of expectations and strategic calculations that Pakistan must carefully navigate.
For English learners, some useful terms in this discussion are geopolitics, which refers to how geography and politics interact on a global scale; superpower, which means a country with great political, economic, and military influence; supply chain, which is the system of production and delivery of goods; and strategic trust, which means reliance on a partner to act predictably in long-term interests. These words are often used in news and podcasts about international relations.
In conclusion, Pakistan's position between China and the United States is more than a regional issue. It is a global one. Its choices influence trade, security, military alliances, and regional stability. By understanding the broader context of the US-China rivalry, we can see why every decision Pakistan makes is carefully watched by global powers. Its position highlights the interconnected nature of modern international relations, where one country's policy can have far-reaching consequences worldwide.
In the next section, we will discuss potential future scenarios. What could happen if Pakistan leans more toward China or more toward the United States? How might global and regional powers react? By exploring these possibilities, we can better understand the stakes and challenges of Pakistan's strategic position in the world today. As we have explored in the previous sections, Pakistan finds itself in a complex position between China and the United States. Its choices are influenced by economics, security, regional politics, and domestic factors. In this section, we will discuss 3 possible scenarios for Pakistan's future, considering how each path could affect the country, the region, and even global geopolitics. Understanding these possibilities helps us see the difficult decisions leaders face and the potential consequences of each choice.
Let's begin with Scenario 1. Pakistan leans more toward China. In this scenario, Pakistan would strengthen its economic and security ties with China, investing more heavily in infrastructure projects like the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor and deepening military cooperation. This path could provide Pakistan with consistent support, long-term strategic backing, and rapid development opportunities. Chinese investment could accelerate energy production, transportation networks, and industrial growth, boosting the economy in the medium and long term.
From a security perspective, closer alignment with China would ensure Pakistan has a strong ally in the region. Chinese defense cooperation could provide advanced technology, joint training, and political support in international forums. This would give Pakistan confidence in maintaining regional balance, particularly in its relations with India. China's long-term commitment would reduce the unpredictability that sometimes comes with U.S. support, allowing Pakistan to plan strategically without worrying about sudden shifts in policy or aid.
However, this scenario also carries risks. Leaning too much toward China could create tension with the United States, which may limit trade opportunities, reduce foreign aid, or impose political pressure. Overdependence on Chinese loans could also create debt concerns. Critics in Pakistan worry that projects financed by China might prioritize Chinese companies and workers, limiting benefits for local industries and employment. In this path, Pakistan would gain stability and development, but potentially at the cost of economic and diplomatic flexibility.
Now let's consider Scenario 2. Pakistan rebuilds stronger ties with the United States. In this path, Pakistan would focus on strengthening trade, increasing exports to U.S. markets, and enhancing cooperation on counterterrorism and military assistance. This approach could provide Pakistan with access to advanced technology, intelligence networks, and international economic partnerships. Rebuilding trust with Washington might also increase foreign investment from other Western countries, further supporting economic growth.
A closer alignment with the U.S. would have strategic benefits as well. America's global influence could help Pakistan participate in international forums, secure support in regional conflicts, and maintain stability along the Afghan border. Cooperation with the U.S. might also encourage reforms, modernization of institutions, and better access to international financial institutions. In short, Pakistan could strengthen its economic and diplomatic position in the world through a closer partnership with the United States.
However, this scenario comes with challenges. U.S. support often comes with conditions, including political, security, and strategic expectations. Pakistan may face pressure to take positions aligned with Washington in global or regional matters, limiting its autonomy. At times, U.S. policies have been unpredictable, and reliance on American aid has previously led to tension when expectations were not met. Additionally, over-focusing on the U.S. could strain relations with China, potentially affecting infrastructure projects, regional support, and strategic balance.
Finally, there is Scenario 3. Pakistan balances both without choosing sides. In this approach, Pakistan seeks to maintain strong relationships with both China and the U.S., taking advantage of economic opportunities, security support, and strategic partnerships from each. By not fully committing to one side, Pakistan can benefit from Chinese investment and U.S. markets simultaneously. This strategy allows the country to maximize economic growth, maintain defense capabilities, and preserve diplomatic flexibility on the international stage.
Balancing both sides is appealing, but it is also extremely challenging. It requires careful diplomacy, constant communication, and strategic foresight. Pakistan must manage expectations, ensure transparency, and avoid sending signals that could be interpreted as favoritism. Maintaining trust with both China and the U.S. while benefiting from their economic and security support requires skilled leadership and a clear understanding of priorities. Small mistakes could be magnified into political or economic consequences.
There are also risks associated with balancing. Both superpowers may expect loyalty, and any perceived tilt toward one could create tension with the other. Economic projects or military cooperation might slow down if either side becomes skeptical of Pakistan's alignment. Additionally, balancing requires strong domestic institutions and political stability, which can be difficult to maintain amid internal debates, elections, or public opinion pressures. Without careful management, the country may struggle to gain full benefits from either partner. However, the benefits are significant if done successfully. Pakistan could maintain economic growth through Chinese infrastructure and U.S. trade, strengthen security through cooperation with both powers, and retain diplomatic autonomy. This scenario allows Pakistan to play a strategic role in global geopolitics, using its unique position to mediate, connect, and negotiate between two major superpowers. In essence, successful balancing could position Pakistan as a key player on the world stage. For English learners, key terms in this discussion include alignment, meaning choosing to support or cooperate closely with a country; autonomy, which means independence or the ability to make one's own decisions; diplomatic flexibility, which refers to the ability to adjust foreign policy based on circumstances; and superpower, a country with great political, economic, and military influence. These words help learners understand the complex concepts in international relations.
In conclusion, Pakistan faces three possible paths: leaning more toward China, rebuilding stronger ties with the US, or balancing both. Each scenario has its own risks and benefits, impacting economics, security, regional stability, and global influence. The choices Pakistan makes will not only shape its future, but also influence the strategies of neighboring countries, international powers, and global markets. The decision is complex, and there is no easy answer.
Understanding these possible scenarios helps listeners see why Pakistan's position is closely watched internationally. It also shows how economics, security, regional politics, and domestic factors intersect. By analysing the risks and benefits of each path, we can better appreciate the challenges that Pakistan faces in navigating its relationships with two of the world's most powerful countries.
In the next and final section, we will summarize everything we have discussed and reflect on the lessons English learners and global audiences can take from this analysis. We will also explore why it is important to follow international relations and think critically about global events. As we reach the final section of our podcast, it's important to summarize what we have learned about Pakistan's position between China and the United States. Over the last few sections, we explored the economic, security, regional, domestic, and global dimensions that shape Pakistan's foreign policy. From the importance of exports to the US, Chinese investments in infrastructure, regional rivalries, and public opinion, every factor plays a role. Understanding these complexities helps us see why Pakistan's decisions are challenging and significant on a global scale.
Exactly, Adam. One key point is that Pakistan's economy relies on both China and the United States, but in different ways. The US provides access to major export markets, while China invests heavily in infrastructure projects like highways, ports, and energy facilities. Economically, Pakistan benefits from both, but balancing these partnerships requires careful planning. Similarly, in the area of security, the United States provides advanced military technology and intelligence support, while China offers consistent regional backing and defense cooperation. Both are vital for Pakistan's stability and strategic planning.
Regional politics also shape Pakistan's choices. The India-China rivalry, the situation in Afghanistan, and overall regional stability all influence foreign policy decisions. Public opinion and domestic politics add another layer of complexity. Ordinary citizens, political leaders, and elections all contribute to how Pakistan manages its relationships with China and the United States. Cultural and educational ties further reinforce perceptions and trust, creating an environment where diplomacy, strategy, and public sentiment interact constantly.
From a global perspective, Pakistan's position is part of the broader US-China rivalry. Every decision the country makes has implications for international trade, security, and geopolitics. China's Belt and Road Initiative and the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor provide strategic access to trade routes, while US trade and political influence remain critical for Pakistan's economy and international standing. These factors show why Pakistan's choices are observed not just regionally, but around the world.
We also discussed possible scenarios for Pakistan's future. The country could lean more toward China, strengthening investment and regional support, but risking tension with the U.S. Alternatively, Pakistan could rebuild closer ties with the United States, gaining trade and strategic partnerships, but facing conditions and political expectations. Finally, Pakistan could balance both powers carefully, attempting to maximize benefits while maintaining diplomatic independence. Each path has risks and rewards, highlighting the complexity of decision-making.
For English learners, there are many key words and concepts to remember from this podcast. Words like alignment, autonomy, diplomatic flexibility, superpower, infrastructure, counter-terrorism, regional stability, and strategic trust appear frequently in discussions about international relations. Understanding these terms helps learners follow news, podcasts, and discussions about global politics. Practicing these words in sentences or short paragraphs can improve both comprehension and speaking skills.
Another takeaway is the importance of connecting multiple factors when analyzing a country's foreign policy. Economics, security, regional dynamics, domestic politics, and global influences all interact. For Pakistan, no single factor dominates. Leaders must consider the full picture and make decisions that balance multiple interests. This approach teaches a useful lesson for students of international relations, diplomacy, and even everyday decision-making. Understanding complexity is key to making informed choices.
It is also important to reflect on the idea of balance. Pakistan's position demonstrates that sometimes the best approach is not choosing one side completely, but managing relationships carefully to gain benefits from both. This principle can be applied to learning, work, and life in general. Balance allows for flexibility, reduces risk, and enables strategic thinking. For Pakistan, balancing both China and the US may be the most prudent path to protect economic growth, maintain security, and navigate regional and global pressures.
For learners, following international relations in English can be very helpful. Listening to discussions, reading articles, and understanding terms like geopolitics, superpower, and diplomatic strategy improves both comprehension and vocabulary. It also allows learners to engage in meaningful conversations about world events. Podcasts like this one provide an opportunity to practice listening to long, structured English, enhancing understanding of complex topics while building confidence in language skills.
In conclusion, Pakistan's choices between China and the United States are not simple. Economics, security, regional politics, domestic opinion, and global dynamics all intersect, making the decision challenging. Each path, leaning toward China, rebuilding ties with the US, or balancing both, has risks and rewards. Careful balancing appears to be the most effective strategy, allowing Pakistan to protect national interests, maintain flexibility, and play a meaningful role in global affairs.
We hope this podcast has helped you understand not only Pakistan's foreign policy, but also key concepts in international relations. For English learners, remember to practice the new words, think about how global events connect with each other, and consider multiple perspectives when analyzing complex issues. Following world news in English helps you expand both knowledge and language skills simultaneously.
Finally, dear listeners, remember that international relations are never static. Situations evolve, alliances shift, and strategies change. By paying attention, learning new vocabulary, and reflecting on the underlying factors, you can improve your English while gaining insights into world affairs. Pakistan's situation between China and the US is a clear example of how strategy, balance, and careful decision-making matter in a complex global environment.
Thank you for listening to the English Globe. If you found this podcast helpful, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us where you are listening from and which scenario you think Pakistan will follow. Your opinions are valuable and help us create more educational content for English learners around the world.